Welcome to this week's News 30. We're so glad you've joined us tonight. I'm Hannah Lounsbury.
And I'm Alyssa Sparazza.
The OBU Theater will be debuting their new show, You Can't Take It With You, next week starting November 3rd. The comedy classic stars an eccentric, seemingly dysfunctional family whose routine is thrown into even more chaos when their daughter Alice brings her fiancé's high society family over for dinner. The show is directed by Matthew Caron and stars Brenna Bergeron as Alice. For ticket prices and times, visit okbu.edu/theater.
The deadline for OBU's summer Go trips ended today. The Global Outreach Center is offering mission trips to Asia, Europe, and South America, as well as locations in the United States. The number of applicants per location decides what trips will ultimately be available. Dr. Joy Turner, the Director of Global Outreach, and Taylor McDaniel, the Logistics Coordinator, began interviewing applicants earlier this semester. Interviews will continue until November 15th. The center is looking for students who are teachable, have the potential for leadership, and have a willingness to grow in their faith.
If you're looking for some Halloween-themed fun this weekend, we've got Natalie Brassfield reporting on an upcoming Shawnee event.
The Star Skate Roller Rink is celebrating Halloween early. October 28th, the rink is staying open longer and hosting a costume party. Bethany Seipert is operations specialist for the Star Skate and organized this year's late skate.
Normally we just stay open until 10:30, but this week is our Halloween costume party.
Nice. The night will feature several games and contests for everyone. Late skate provides families with safe alternate to trick-or-treating.
It's neat because the kids will have a place to come that is safe and it's super fun. So we'll have our costume contest and then our annual mummy wrap contest, which is really fun because they get to wrap the kids up in toilet paper and just have a blast.
It sounds like late skate will start at 7 in the afternoon and running until midnight. Cost of admission is $12. This is Natalie Brassfield with News 30.
Oklahoma Baptist University is raising its minimum scholarship from $2,000 per year to $5,000 per year for incoming students starting fall 2017. The scholarship is renewable every year for 4 years as long as the student maintains a 2.0 GPA. This means the total minimum guaranteed scholarship for all incoming freshmen is $20,000 for a 4-year degree plan. The university will now weigh high school GPA as 60% and the ACT or SAT score for 40%. Previously, the high school GPA and ACT or SAT scores were weighted equally. This helps students who accomplish more every day for 4 years of high school instead of basing it all on 3 or 4 hour tests. OBU is trying to make it a more affordable place to attend. The new scholarship policy will begin in the fall semester of 2017.
OBU's freshman class is getting ready for this year's Follies. Freshman Follies is a yearly variety show that allows freshmen to showcase their talents. The show begins on Saturday at 8 p.m. in Rayleigh Chapel. This year's theme is Deep Fried Follies. It was planned by the husband and wife team of Gage and Karis Johnson. They're both senior crew members. Admission is free and is open to students and members of the Shawnee community.
After Freshman Follies, OBU's Bison Jazz Orchestra will be hosting their annual Night of Jazz in the upper floor of the Maybe Suite in the Noble Complex. This Autumn Leaves themed Night of Jazz will comprise of 3 45-minute parts featuring student and faculty performers. There'll also be guest performers Jeremy Thompson and Lee Rucker, and the last portion will set up aside for an open jam session. The Come and Go event starts at 10 p.m. and refreshments will be served.
Family Weekend is coming up from October 28th to October 29th. This weekend allows parents and other family members to visit students and participate in different activities on campus all day long. From the chili kickoff to worship night to the long-awaited Freshman Follies, there's no shortage of fun and games for everyone to participate in. So come and join us to see your student and experience life on Bison Hill.
Wednesday, OBU students can meet a member of Congress. November 2nd, U.S. Representative Steve Russell will speak with students and faculty. Russell is the representative of Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District. He's also a veteran in the U.S. Army and recently visited Syrian refugee camps. The Q&A session will be at 2 in the afternoon in the Bailey Business Auditorium.
This Saturday, OBU's improv group Festival of Fools will be putting on a show in the Sarkees Black Box Theater. The show will be called It's So Funny, It's Scary. Audience members are encouraged to wear costumes, but it's not required. The show will take place on the 30th, and starts at 2:30 p.m. Admission to the show is only $2.
And when we come back, we'll take a look at a special Halloween event this weekend and look at the most recent presidential polls. Welcome back.
Shawnee, Seminole, and Tecumseh will be having their citywide trick-or-treats on Monday night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. As well as the general trick-or-treat, there are also several family events that will be going on around the community, so keep your eyes open. One event that might be worth a bit of a drive is this year's Haunt the Zoo at the Oklahoma City Zoo. Costumes will be encouraged, but they ask that adults refrain from looking too scary. There will be 21 fantasy and picture booths set up inside the zoo, and the event will be going on until Saturday evening. For times and ticket prices, you can check out the zoo's website.
Robert E. Reed Jr. of Tecumseh was arrested yesterday after a manhunt that began at 8 in the morning when officers responded to a call about a suspicious vehicle. At the time, they saw Reed jump over a fence with blood on him. Later, when Reed was found and arrested, they had active warrants for marijuana possession and failure to appear in court on him. He was booked and charged for those warrants, but as of now, he has not been charged with anything new, and the police have not discovered why he had seemed to have blood on him when he ran.
The murder suspect in Sunday's shooting of 2 police officers is still at large. Michael Vance Jr. is still being looked for all over the state after shooting 2 officers in Wellston, Oklahoma on Sunday. Both officers are doing well and are not expected to have any complications. Vance is a suspect in a double homicide in Oklahoma County, as well as a failed carjacking and shooting in Sayre, Oklahoma. Vance is considered very dangerous and is believed to be armed with an AK-47 and possibly other weapons. If you have any information on Vance's whereabouts, call 405-246-9205.
The last question on this year's state ballot that looms just around the corner is question 792. This bill, also called the Alcohol Bill or the Right to Sale Bill, has drawn a lot of controversy around the state already. The bill will not only change the alcohol proof that stores like grocery stores and convenience stores are allowed to sell it, will also remove such regulations like not being able to sell alcohol on Sundays or after a certain hour of the day. Supporters of the bill say it will help local stores as well as local breweries within the state, thus boosting the Oklahoma economy, while opponents want to keep alcohol more regulated and argue that by taking away business from local liquor stores, by allowing bigger stores to sell things such as wine, will actually hurt small businessmen in the long run. If the bill is passed, it will allow any liquor store, grocery store, or convenience store with a liquor license to be able to sell any alcohol that is currently legal in the state.
Sad news coming from Twitter today with the announcement that their service Vine will shut down in the coming months. Vine, a video service that lets you upload clips up to 6 seconds, has been online for 4 years. This news comes alongside an announcement that Twitter will be laying off 9% of its workforce. All is not lost for you Vine users, however, as Twitter is looking into implementing Vine features into their native Twitter application.
Letter jackets are traditionally associated with high school athletics, but the Arvis Bank here in Shawnee likes to recognize a different kind of excellence. For 33 years now, Arvis has given out academic letter jackets to students who exhibit a high level of academic success in their high school years. This week, Arvis continued this tradition by awarding 17 jackets to students at Shawnee Public High School yesterday afternoon. The jackets are awarded to the students who represented the top 5% of Shawnee's senior class.
In political news, Republican candidate Donald Trump seems to have taken a sudden lead this weekend over Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton. Tuesday morning, the Washington Times reported that Trump has a 2-point lead amongst likely voters across the entire nation. CNN and MSNBC confirmed this result, putting Trump ahead by anywhere between 2 and 4 points in their respective polls. However, Fox News reported this morning that it was Clinton who has a slight lead. Even though each group polled brings slightly different results, the numbers indicate that this will be a close race.
Last week, a fleet of Russian ships sailed through the English Channel, coming very close into the waters of both England and France on their way to the Mediterranean Sea. Russian President Vladimir Putin says there is no reason for alarm. The fleet is simply moving into place to hopefully end the conflict in Syria more quickly. Yesterday, the impressive fleet was spotted off the coast of Gibraltar. Originally, Putin said the fleet was hoping to refuel in Spain, but they have now abandoned the idea when NATO condemned the idea. The fleet is now 10 ships strong, including an aircraft carrier, Russia's largest battleships, and 2 large destroyers. Russia is moving into place to conduct a large-scale bombing of Syria, which many Western leaders are calling a war crime.
When we come back, we'll join Dakota Carrington with This Week's Sports.
Here's Dakota Carrington with This Week's Sports.
In case you missed it or lived under a rock this past weekend, Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners took the 5.5-hour bus ride to Lubbock, Texas to take on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, what ended up being one of the most emotionally exhausting games I have ever sat through. After about a 4-hour game, the Sooners were able to use some sort of that Sooner magic to pull off one of the most depressing wins in Sooner history, with a final score of 66-59. Baker Mayfield completed 27 out of 36 pass attempts with 7 touchdowns, total of 545 yards, and Joe Nixon had 31 carries with 2 touchdowns, while receiver D.D. Westbrook had 9 receptions with 2 touchdowns. The reason why this was the most depressing win in Sooners football history was the defense, or lack thereof. The Sooners basically sat in a zone read the entire night, which allowed the Texas Tech team to use the exact offensive spread in a combination of 10 or so plays, which allowed Texas Tech quarterback Patrick Mahomes II to throw for 52 out of 88 passing attempts, 734 yards, 5 touchdowns. If that's not enough to describe how bad the defense was, just let me list the 8 NCAA records that were broken this past weekend, 5 of which belonged to Texas Tech quarterback Patrick Mahomes. The records that were broken are as followed. The most combined yardage in a Division I game with 1,708 yards between the two teams. Mahomes set the NCAA individual record for a total offense of 819 yards. The most combined passing yards in any NCAA game with 1,279. Tied the NCAA record for the most combined first downs with 78. Mahomes broke the NCAA Division I passing record on only 2 yards short of the overall NCAA record. Mahomes and Baker also broke the FBS combined record for most offensive yards between 2 players with 1,383. This game was so bad that there is a petition going around for defensive coordinator Mike Stoops to be fired. This week, the Sooners take on Kansas State in Norman. Hopefully they address the many problems before this weekend, and trust me, there are plenty. This week, the Thunder kicked off their season against the Philadelphia 76ers, narrowly beating them with a final score of 103-97. Westbrook finished the game with 32 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, completing his first double-double of the year. The Thunder face off against the Phoenix Suns tomorrow night. In the World Series, earlier this past week, the 113th World Series kicked off where 2 of the best teams in MLB battled it out for the Covenant Commissioner's Trophy. Representing the NLDS from the Chicago Cubs, and from the ALDS, the Cleveland Indians. The Cubbies, a team who has not won a World Series title since 1908. That is exactly 108 years ago. This took place only 5 years after the conception of the World Series. The last time the Cubbies appeared in the World Series was in 1945 against the Detroit Tigers. In this series, one of the most iconic sports memories of all time occurred when tavern owner William Billy Goat Sinus was stopped at the gate before Game 4 of the 1945 World Series at Wrigley Field with his goat Murphy in tow. Murphy's stretch seemed to be the determining factor of why the animal, or stench, was a determining factor on why the animal wasn't allowed to game. The goat had his own ticket after all. After getting escorted out of the game, Sinus prophesied, "You are going to lose the World Series, and you are never going to win another World Series again." The Cubs ultimately went on to lose the series in a devastating Game 7 loss. And up until this year, the Cubbies have yet to make it back to the series. To start the World Series, the Indians took Game 1 just for the Cubbies to turn around and take Game 2, evening things up. Game 3 of the World Series is tomorrow night at the historical Wrigley Field. Maybe this will be the year that the GOAT curse will finally be broken. And as always, News 30 will keep you posted. That's all I have for sports. Back to you, ladies.
That's all we have for this week. In case you missed anything, remember that you can catch us on YouTube at Shawnee News 30.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.